understand each other more and uplift each other better. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome, we're very fortunate today to have one of the few nonviolent communication trainers, certified trainers, here in Santa Cruz. And I'm just going to hand over the mic to Christine King. Give it up.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. It's, can you hear me okay? Yeah. It's been really a pleasure for me to see how this Transformative Action Center has evolved and to see the excitement and the enthusiasm around this. So I'm so encouraged and I'm so excited and looking forward to seeing where this leads. And I'm particularly thrilled to be able to offer this section on transformative communication because, as Sean said, that's really everything. You know, how we connect, how we interact with the rest of the world. I don't plan to stand here and talk to you the whole time. I'm actually we're gonna do some exercises. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about a little bit about nonviolent communication, and then I'll do an exercise up here on stage. So, nonviolent communication, raise your hand if you've heard of nonviolent communication. Wow, nice. And raise your hand if you've taken a class or a workshop, or if you've seen or heard Marshall Rosenberg, who's the founder of Nonviolent Communication. So I'm seeing about maybe 10 or 12 hands. That's great. Wonderful. Well, I'll just say that Marshall Rosenberg is the founder. He wrote a book called Nonviolent Communication, Language of Life. If you get a chance to read it, I very much encourage that. And he started this movement of nonviolent communication to the point where now there are about 220 trainers all over the world in just about every continent except for Antarctica, as far as I know. Not yet, maybe someone will teach them. And it's growing and growing and growing, so more and more people are learning, taking classes. So while you're sitting here right now at this moment, know that there's people all over the world that are also learning these skills. And Dr. Rosenberg, his background is that he grew up in Detroit in the 40s. And when he first moved to Detroit, the race riots broke out. And he was confined to his home for about 10 days. And that experience left him with a lifelong curiosity or interest in why is it that when there's conflict, some people will respond compassionately and other people will respond violently. And through his studies and through his learning, et cetera, he developed this process. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the process of nonviolent communication later. But first I want to talk to you about ways that we respond when there's conflict. Ways that we respond, sort of habitual ways, like someone says something to you and you're triggered, you're stimulated, maybe they're coming at you really strong, maybe with anger, something like that. So I wanted to demonstrate this up on stage. And just to make it a little bit more realistic, I invited my husband to come. And he's worked on campus here for many years. He works at STARS right now, so if you're a transfer or reentry student, you've probably met him. He's also the staff advisor for the Buddhist student organization, so if you're involved in that, you probably know who he is. So we're going to demonstrate to you 4 different ways that you might, or many of us might, respond or react to someone who's coming at us. Now, this would not be physical attack, okay? This is just a physical demonstration. So if someone's coming at you, you're not probably going to want to use your words. So if there's health or safety, do what you need to do, okay? Run or whatever. You don't want to be standing there going, oh, it looks like you're feeling really angry and you want to hit me. So he's gonna do this, and then we would have liked to have had all of you do that, but logistically we weren't quite sure how to make that happen, assuming there were 200 and some students. So So I really want you to do is kind of get a felt sense about what we're doing. So kind of like maybe pretend that you are up here on stage doing this, either being the attacker or being the attackee, and just kind of get a sense about what that might be like for you. So do you want to add anything to that? He actually taught me this exercise because he teaches mindfulness-based stress reduction, and this is an exercise that they use in that process. Good, okay, thank you. All right, so he's going to come at me kind of slowly, like he's going to attack me, and I'll show you one possible response to this, okay? Make it kind of realistic. What did I do? Okay, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I won't do it again. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. It's my fault, okay? He didn't say what I did, but I assume I did something wrong. So what happened? Defeated, scared, gave up, surrender,
Powerless.
recoiled, powerless. Yeah, so I became the victim. Thank you. Yeah, so how does that feel? Resentful, ashamed, powerless. Yeah. Yeah, so then kind of just going, oh, it's my fault. I did it. Whatever it was, I did it. Can anyone relate to that in your life? Where, yeah, you know, like I'm the family doormat, everybody's stepping on me, and I just take it. So that's one experience that might be something that you've experienced before. So he's going to come at me again. You want to come from that end? And I'll show you another possible response. Okay. Okay, so what happened?
He ran away.
I avoided him. I ran away. I didn't engage. And sometimes this is called a somewhat passive-aggressive experience. So how was that for you? Sorry? Kind of easier. Yeah. Kind of easier just to avoid, right? Why, you know, the person thinks they're going to engage with you, but then you're gone. So if you were the attacker, how do you think that might be for you? Yeah, probably frustrating because you're trying to make contact with this person and they're just out of there. You know, the person you call and you invite them over to your house for a party and they're like, yeah, I'll be there, right? Party comes, they don't show up. You know, so that kind of experience where someone's saying yes, 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 and then all of a sudden it's kind of a no. So that's not a whole lot of fun. So let's try something else, and he's going to attack me again. And this time I want you to use some words so we can get engaged.
That car, the dent in the car, that was your fault.
No, I didn't do it. No,
yes,
there's no way.
I didn't
no.
do it. You
I'm
did
sure it was
You're
you.
wrong.
You
You're
had
wrong.
the car
You blew
last.
it. It's your fault. You did it.
Whoops. We'll finish this conversation later. So what happened? Confrontation. Resistance. Blaming. Escalating. Does this seem familiar to any of you? Yeah, yeah. So this is I'm getting stimulated, fight or flight, I'm fighting back, and you know, I'm just going to blame back. And this is the blame game, and I think many of us know this game. We know how it works. So as soon as I figure out how to fix this, I'll put it back.
You know, you might also identify with the attacker in each of these. So for the first one, the attacker gets to run over somebody. How does that feel? Pretty good at times. Maybe you've done that. You've had the power over. You've just got your point across no matter what. The second time, the attacker comes and there is an unfinished business. They're going to come back and do it again. Maybe the Artful Dodger will go around again. So there's still some unfinished business. The attacker isn't quite sure about how they feel in that case. In this last one we just did, where we pushed back, Can you get a gut feeling of getting into an argument with somebody? Something about that feels good. You're expressing yourself finally. You're pushing back. You're claiming your public space. You're resisting. There's something that feels good about that. And at the same time, there's kind of a push-pull. You get kind of locked, like a story of Virginia Woolf. They just fight with each other again and again. And maybe they don't really get any further, but they just keep expressing their anger at each other.
Yeah, it's interesting when I do that and I have the students participating in that particular last exercise, I often hear, oh yeah, that was kind of exciting, gave me a lot of juice. And it may be exciting in the moment, but there's going to be consequences or repercussions later. I teach this also in jails. I remember the first time I taught it to the women in the Santa Cruz jail, and they're like, yeah. So I said, well, wait, let me show you one more. There's one more. And so this time, we're going to do the Aikido move, which I was here at the class last week on Tuesday when Scott Sherman was demonstrated with someone here. He demonstrated the Aikido move. And in Aikido, what happens is you use the energy of your attacker and you blend with your attacker. You step into, you enter into what's going on for them. So what it takes for me is it takes for me to be centered in myself and to be really present for this experience. Someone's coming at me, they're saying something that I may be triggered, I may be stimulated, I may be resistant, I may be reactive. So can I blend with them? Can I just turn with them and see what they see? So this doesn't necessarily mean I agree with him, okay? It just means I see what you see. So we're going to do this last one.
One thing that might help is my perspective is all these paintings over here. Can you take a look at all those paintings over there? That's my perspective. That's what I see. What do you think Christine's perspective is?
I see these.
Okay. So we're not seeing the same thing when we start this.
Okay, so he's going to come at me.
A little slower.
A little slower this time. And I'm going to kind of get out of his way because I don't want him to run over me. So I'm going to step to the side. I'm going to engage. I'm going to enter. I'm going to blend, put my hand on his shoulder, and I'm going to see what he sees. So he sees the blackboard, and he sees the murals over there, and he sees these students over here. So I'm looking what he's looking at. And at some point, what you'll find is your attacker's energy will start to kind of dissipate because they're going to feel heard. And once he feels heard, I can start turning him around and say, look what I see. I see Angela Davis, and I see Adrienne Rich. I see Ralph Nader. So I see something different than what you see. And he might hear this. He might get stimulated again. He might jerk me around again. That's fine. I'll just stay with that energy, and I'll go back to, we call this in nonviolent communication, we call this empathy. I'll go back to empathizing with him and what's going on for him. So, any more you want to add to that?
Just to say, just to repeat it, and for you to kind of get an internal feeling that it's very important to stay with the physiological, inside your body feeling as best you can. Even when you're scared, even when someone's attacking you verbally, somebody who habitually does this, it's a chance to look and maybe do something a little different. So, staying centered, staying present, knowing your feelings, stepping in, but maybe to a side, to make the contact is very important. You're not afraid of the attacker. You're meeting the attacker. You're stepping in. You're making contact. When the contact's made, there's an immediate shift and a turn. So a change in perspective. You have to be fluid to see the other person's perspective. Then what happens, you don't know for sure. You're kind of going into a risk mode here. You may see their perspective. They may or may not get bent around to your perspective at some point. You may see a third perspective, all these people here, you. So there's some element of unknownness, and you have to do your timing about this carefully.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. sometime during the quarter you might get an opportunity to experience that for yourself, because it is kind of a physical experience to really get it. So we did it a little bit differently, but it's fun for you to get to really see what that's like for yourselves. So that's the actual, that's the demonstration of what it might look like as someone is coming at you. So that's, I wanted to show it to you in a way that you can actually experience it using words, okay? So, so someone comes at you, there's an insult, there's a blame, there's an attack, some insinuation, something like that. How do you verbally turn with them and look in the direction they're looking at? So I came up with an acronym, and I'm calling it AIR, because the very, very first thing that is affected when we go into reactivity is our breath, okay? So you'll notice right away that your respiration changes. Probably gets a little bit more shallow. And if you're really stimulated, if you're angry, then you might actually start sweating or tensing up in your body, or smoke might be coming out of your ears or something like that. So I came up with this acronym, which is AIR, which was 3 possible ways that you can respond to someone who's in pain. Because really, they're coming at you, they're in pain, and they're just wanting to share their pain with you. Isn't that wonderful of them to want to be so sharing? So if you can't remember anything else, if you can just remember to breathe, take a breath. Because what happens at the neurological level, what happens in your brain is danger, danger, danger. So the neocortex, the front of our brain, shuts down. We go back into the limbic system, which is to save us and protect us. We fight, or we flight, or we freeze. We do something to protect us, which is very useful if you're in a jungle and there's a saber-toothed tiger around the corner that is just about to chase you. So, but now this can happen to us. We go into that part of our brain. It's hard for us to do any logical thinking. For instance, have you ever tried to balance your checkbook while you were angry? It's just not possible, because we're just in this, fight or flight mode. So if someone can say something, it takes less than a second. It takes about 1/6 of a second to go into our limbic system, okay? To get out of our limbic system, it takes about 6 seconds. So just do the math. It takes about 6 seconds. So if you can remember, breathe. Somebody says something. It feels like an attack or